Yeah, I am good. I'm good at this. Hello, it is TexAgs Rewind presented by T-Mobile. I want to say hi to my peoples out there and thank them very much for watching this show. T-Mobile wants to remind you to visit T-Mobile.com/CrossAmerica to learn more how you can get value and coverage with T-Mobile. Thanks, guys, for checking in on this link right here and a couple things we talked about on the show today, episode 2694. Yeah, the A&M basketball team is struggling. We know that, and that slide continued against LSU. Not a very good first half. In fact, terrible first half, and some people say the worst first half they've seen in a long time. We talked about that. Chris Landry of Landry Football joined us. We talked Super Bowl. We talked Aggies. We talked everything with Chris because he's so good. Recruiting Country with Ryan Brauninger, breaking down 2023 and looking ahead and just kind of this next phase of recruiting here over the next couple of months. And Connor O'Gara, Saturday Down South, had a column on Jimbo Fisher. Had to ask him a little bit about what he meant about his legacy. We got into that and more here on TexAgs Rewind, presented by T-Mobile. Last night, another tough one to swallow, but aren't they all when you're in a 7-game losing streak? Terrible first half, I guess a decent second half. Ends with something we have seen way too much of recently, and that is an L. A&M falls to LSU 76-68. We've talked about this offense. Sure, they can score, and sure, they can't. We saw that. Many games have had scoring droughts. Last night, we saw, what was it, a 7-8 minute scoring drought? I feel like there's been so many that I lose track of what's going on. This game tied at 13 apiece. Yeah, feeling good about Reed Arena. Rocking, let's go. By the time it was halftime, it was 36-16. Last time I checked, it's a 23-3 run. That's not good. Not good at all. It was terrible. Nothing else I can say about it. The game is 40 minutes long, but the Aggies did play a nice second half. There was some really good defense. They forced a lot of turnovers there, but the first half really atrocious. They came out flat. A quote from Buzz Williams last night: "You can't score 16 points in one half, have 10 turnovers, shoot 5 free throws, and then in the second half score 52 points and shoot 25 free throws with 12 offensive boards." All right, so with that sour note, let's begin the Go Hour with my buddy Olin Buchanan here, our Heisman Trophy voter, columnist extraordinaire. Good morning to you, sir.
Good morning. Yeah, the that first half was it was really a pathetic display. May have been. I don't know that I've seen a worse half of basketball at this level. I really don't. Maybe I have, but if I have, I can't remember.
Yeah.
Just guys trying to make plays and falling over themselves, guys challenging, going inside, challenging a 7-footer when you got a teammate open in the corner. Just poor shooting overall, not getting out on defense. I think LSU in that first half made 7 of 10 3-pointers, and they're not even considered a great 3-point shooting team. And, you know, what really stands out to me, among other things, is that I know it was an 8-point deficit.
Mm-hmm.
A&M hit 3 threes in the last minute when it was all over to make it that way. It was a blowout. When your opponent commits, I think it was it 22 turnovers? I think LSU had 22 turnovers and still blows you out. You know, that's a head scratcher.
I've said this before, and I'm going to say it again. I'm very happy they had a great second half. Thank you. We needed to see that, feel better about, I guess, losing again. But all that being said, teams make runs in basketball, right? It is what it is. And, you know, when a team is up by 20, they take their foot off the accelerator. The other team's embarrassed. They come out and they do some things. It's a 40-minute game. And I hate to use the word inexcusable, but it is inexcusable to come out as flat as they did. Now, look, talent-wise, LSU's got a lot of talent, and A&M's trying to get there. But it's not the same A&M team we saw 3 weeks ago.
Well, see, first of all, I don't think they came out flat. Like you said, it was 13-13. So they came out fine. And then I've almost come to expect that there's going to be this major scoring drought at some point in the game.
When you see what they were able to put together and the different types of pieces and the amount of 5 stars, I was about to call them 7 stars, but that they put together, just give me some thoughts there.
Outstanding class. I love the depth and the quality on the defensive line. I think that's so important. Certainly quarterback is pivotal. Got you one of those along, and I think that's important to always have that staple of guys that you can turn to and develop, because you don't know where you're going to ever be in that quarterback room. But that's been good in the depth on defense, and I think they've really helped the secondary out a lot too. So I think they've at the line of scrimmage, they continue to be really good. I think there's a couple of playmakers. I mean, if you look at it, it's kind of a nice little team that they've put together. They've got probably need more explosive playmakers at receiver types that can change games like we've seen at Alabama or even at an LSU a couple of years ago. I think there's some potential there. So, look, it's a loaded class because there's a number of them. I think that it's, as we talked about after the first signing day in December, look, it's really about, does that class stay together? Do they develop? It's different than before. You could pretty much assume years and years ago, when I was a recruiting coordinator in this league, you pretty much know, you didn't know who was going to get injured or whatever. Pretty much who was there, they were there for 3 or 4 years. Now, it's just starting. It's like, do these guys stay on any class? Do they all stay and develop? See, that's the difference. And while this is important and that's all you can handle right now, it's getting them in there, getting them acclimated, and having them stay and develop in the program. That's the foundation piece to build off of, which been, I think, a very underrated recruiting and development, at least in certain areas that they've put together. So I think it's really, really good. But I caution everybody to say that we're in a different world. And what's made Alabama great, if you look at it, yeah, there were like 8 guys went in the portal. They were all guys that kicked in the portal. We talked about that when that happened. It's like, so, it's like when you're at a level where all the guys that you want to stay, and then maybe some of these guys, maybe 6 of them don't pan out, and you could, maybe you move on. And that's where I think Jimbo wants to be. And, we'll see if this happens. It certainly was a big, it was certainly a big 2 years of putting this class together. I'll say that.
So you told us they sought out the number 1 class, and they did it, right? So, how did they do it, and what's the plan next?
You're doing an incredible job of segueing.
It's like we've rehearsed this beforehand.
You don't even know what. So my next piece of content, we have this deal going out today, probably tonight, this in-home visit. And then either starting next Monday or the Monday after, we're kind of decide on timeline here. Because next Monday will be lead into baseball season. I'll have a bunch of content coming out next week as the lead into baseball season. So it may be the Monday after that. But there will be 2 weeks, for 2 weeks straight, every day, there will be a recruiting piece come out from me where I highlight, it's going to be the top 10 moments of the 2022 cycle. What were the key dates? And we went, or I brainstormed this topic or brainstormed this idea in a lot of different ways. One of the things that I had was have like me, Jason, Billy, Olin, and you all sit down. We record it, and it's a draft. Okay. And you're drafting the most important events of the 2022 recruiting cycle, right? So that you start weighing importance in your own mind. Like, what stood out to you as being a big deal? Obviously, the number 1 day, I'm not going to ruin this. What do you think the number 1 event that happened?
The Alabama game?
Alabama game.
Yeah.
That's one. But from there, how do you rank importance after that? How do you rank Jimbo saying, I'm not going to LSU? Where do you rank the Auburn weekend? Where do you rank the pool party? Where do you rank Donovan Green and P.J. Williams kicking things off in Houston so early? Where do you rank the commitment of Connor Wigman, your 5-star quarterback?
Yeah.
So everything, it's all part of the pile. Where do you rank Bobby Taylor? Where do you rank Elijah Robinson not taking coaching jobs elsewhere? Or when Mike Elko leaves, you keeping the remaining defensive staff intact? Where do you rank the early signing day close when you had Cam Dewberry and Anthony Lucas and Eni White? It's when you start diving into it and you try to rank them in terms of importance, it's pretty tough to do. The Evan Stewart commitment came out of nowhere, was a recruitment that you were completely out of. And don't forget, in that early signing window, who you added at the end, Denver Harris. So diving into each and every detail or each and every moment of this 2022 class And NIL won't ever come up. It won't ever come up because it wasn't. It's not more important than any of the things that we've talked about. Getting those commitments, those big dates, the pool party, go all the way back to Bobby Taylor jumping in the boat. You know, the importance of that. Like, NIL is not going to be a part of this discussion at all.
Whether or not he could go to Texas A&M and win a national championship, the list of college football coaches who have been able to go to 2 different Power 5 programs and win a national championship in the 21st century, Nick Saban, Urban Meyer, the list kind of runs out from there. And so now everybody's wondering, is Jimbo is this all of a sudden making A&M ceiling that much higher? And you could tell that the way that this timing has worked out with the beginning of the NIL era has given an out. And I think that's part of this. And we still don't know how to talk about this. And I think that Jimbo is included in that conversation. And it's still a bit taboo to talk about NIL. Now, he had every right to push back on the comments about a $30 million payroll for this recruiting class, all those different things. But it is still weird to see Jimbo and Lane and Saban all not fully processing how to speak eloquently about NIL. And there's all this pushback. And I think part of it is because it's ego, but Jimbo is holding true to his belief that he is going to be that guy for A&M and he will take them to that national championship level.
Connor, I got to ask you about why we hear so much about Jimbo's contract. And part of me says, I get it because he signed this huge deal, but so did Mel Tucker. We don't really hear the contract talk about Mel Tucker. Lincoln Riley has a huge contract. Brian Kelly's got a huge contract. Like, there's a lot of guys who have not accomplished what Jimbo has, but I don't feel like the contract's mentioned in the same breath.
It's not because A&M is kind of at the forefront of it. I mean, 10 years, $75 million guaranteed. Scott Woodward said he would have written him a blank check. I mean, that's a big thing to say, and to have that much guaranteed. A&M was certainly at the forefront of the 10-year guaranteed contract movement, which we have now seen, and James Franklin's another one. I mean, there's no question about it that Jimbo Fisher is a more accomplished coach than James Franklin. I don't need to tell anybody listening to that. But I think that we don't see the pushback because Lincoln Riley and Brian Kelly were considered splashy. And you say, all right, that's what you have to do to poach a big-time college football coach. The same was true of A&M when it did so back at the end of the 2017 season. And there was this pushback because we've never seen an athletic director come out and speak about a head coach contract quite like Scott Woodward did. And so I think that's kind of fueled some of this. And when the contract was renegotiated and ultimately announced at the beginning of the 2021 season with A&M and Jimbo Fisher, I think we still looked at that ahead of the Mel Tucker deal, ahead of the James Franklin deal, ahead of Brian Kelly leaving for LSU, ahead of Lincoln Riley leaving for USC. I think we still looked at that and said, wow, man, that just seems like so much money to a guy that has had one really satisfying season so far at A&M, where you left thinking, all right, this is exactly where you should be if you're paying that type of money to a head coach. So I think timing is definitely part of it. And I think it's just the fact that A&M was kind of at the forefront with both of those deals.
I like you guys, so I want you to like this video, and I want you to subscribe to this video. I want you to comment on it. I want you to share it. I want you to rate. I want you to review it, and review it highly. You know, like whenever you go to a place, hey, do you mind doing a survey? Do the survey for us by doing it online, all right? It's TexAgs Rewind presented by T-Mobile. See you guys next time.